Okay, in doing this, I often think I'm talking to an intellectual stone wall. And the intellectual stone wall is in your brain. That's because you don't want to believe, you don't want to understand, and you don't want to do anything. This is when you're 2040 or 2050. The reason for that stone wall is medicine. And there are medical people who actually want to help you, like Kaisil Vilikari and Jacob Rafelson. But the problem is you. You don't want to do anything. You don't want to do something that's medical. And prevention never was medical. It's science and engineering. And I say concept, fundamental eye, where the eye changes its refractive state from plus to minus and minus to plus. But as long as we put a nose on the page, it's always minus. So you walk in an office somewhere and the person examining, so he's examining your error. No, the error is in you. It's in your mind, but you'll never understand it that way. And he's never going to tell you that because he's selling a minus lens for your error. I mean that with respects. Optometry is making money selling a minus lens. Ophthalmology is different. It is medicine. And so they're looking at all kinds of problems, but it's still the same problem remains. It's you. So I get this question. Why are some people nearsighted, negative refractive state, and others have positive refractive state? And the difference is what I was doing as a child. I was quite literally doing the reading at 5 inches or minus 10 diopters. The eye is never designed to do that. All normalized, where you do that, they go down. It's a control system. There's no defect associated with it, except the optometrist who wants a negative refractive state of 2050 to be a medical error. And you can only stop it and prevent it. You cannot get out of it. So to answer your question, my wife grew up in a normal visual environment. She didn't do nose on the page habit. She still has 20/20 vision, positive refractive state. She has no interest in what I'm doing, of course. She doesn't understand what I'm doing, of course. Where I was doing that at 5 years old. And then there's only one future for me, and that's down. And some strabismus too, as part of that. I don't blame anybody for it. It was a mistake. It was my mistake. I regret it. I regret the consequences, clearly. But that's why my refraction went negative and my wife's kept positive. So then you encounter, what was the man? Prentice. Prentice, and I got him by Jacob Rafelson. And what Prentice did, he had some people wearing a plus. Now, these people didn't look at a Snellen. They didn't know what was going on. And I'm sure they got bored by the entire process. And so the process failed. It failed because they didn't know what was going on. And you can't blame anyone medical because they don't know what's going on and don't want to know what's going on either, which basically kills their vision permanently. So I see only future as being an engineer who designs control systems, understands that all eyes are control systems. All eyes behave the same way as dynamic systems. And even Prentice used that terminology. But the person would not look at a Snellen. Prentice not qualified to train an engineer to understand the eye's behavior. Now, I wrote a book on celestial navigation. One day celestial navigation. Can you learn it in one day? I don't know. I would definitely try. If I had intense interest in navigating across an ocean with no other reference than celestial. So what I asked the person to do, ask him to get a sextant because without that, you don't accomplish anything. Now, he might get bored. He can't, I don't understand it. So then I ask him to get a nautical almanac, the section of nautical almanac. So in that process, I asked him to calculate the time of high noon and then calculate the height of the sun at high noon. And then you go out and shoot the sun at high noon. Then you wind up with either I got the sun's, my position within 3 or 4 minutes, or I missed my position for 40 or 50 miles, something like that. But at least you tried. And this is after 6 months of effort. So you either get a consistent height of sun for normal shots. And now you know how to get to an island because you go down to the level of the ocean of the island and head towards the island. But at least you have the rudiments of learning the dynamic normal eye, the dynamics of measurement, the dynamics of being in control of your own vision, the dynamics of prevention, because I won't talk about recovery, never. I won't talk about cure. I won't talk about optometrists selling you a minus lens, which can only make things terrible for you. I don't fight with them because the public is dense. They don't understand. They want a magic cure. Even Kai Suvilakari didn't have anybody making any measurements. But at least you should know how difficult prevention is before you go into it when it's 20 or 40 or 20/50. Now, I wear a plus lens for all close work because I learned from Prentice that the only way you have success, if hopefully you're only at 20/40 or 20/50, and based on the fundamental science and facts, you're going down. And if you want to laugh it off or say, well, that's medicine, I don't see why I have to do anything about it, you're going to lose permanently. Any minus lens, you're going to lose. There's no recovery. So that's the way you learn how to do something. Initially, it'll be strange. You won't want to do it. You won't understand it. I suggest learning the signs and facts of the fundamental eye, the eye's dynamic behavior, and make your own refractive measurements. It's a little extra effort. You have to be a technical engineer to do it, but you have the good faith in yourself, because without that, you're not going to be successful. And 20, 40, or 50, you might be able to get to a reasonable 20, 30 and better, but it's lifetime. There's no such thing as short term. So as you see me, I'm wearing a plus lens to prevent myself from getting back into it. If you don't have that intellectual ability, you're not going to accomplish anything. You'll keep on wandering around. Oh, well, should I do this? Should I do that? It's like people reading books on celestial navigation. They read the book, and I would like to learn how to do it. Geez, I'd like to be chief navigator. They never accomplish anything because they won't take a first step. And that first step is a killer when you're 20/40 or 20/50, because you have to decide long-term plus wear or nothing. And define success for me, looking at my son, would be passing the 20/60 line and the 20/40 line, always. Because I anticipate going down a steady half diopter per year. Totally normal eyes doing this. There's nothing defective about it. So that's a comparison to make between people who could potentially be successful versus all that will fail. Maybe learn something with this. I doubt it. I don't see anybody really learning anything because they miss the basic point. They don't understand the fundamental eye has always controlled itself to its average of accommodation. I published the equation for that, all fundamental eyes. The eye is always controlling its refractive state to the reference to the accommodation signal. That's engineering science. There's nothing medical about that. But as far as prevention, I would want a person to know enough to make his choice, not Kajsa Lillicarry's choice, not Rafelson's choice, not Prentice. Because Prentice said, what happens? If a medical person does it, the person says it's tedious, and that kills everything. I wear a plus lens. Is it tedious for me when I'm making the measurements? When I do everything? It's not for me. But I'm looking after my personal welfare. There's no way in hell I can look after your personal welfare. You'll have to figure out how to do that yourself. Thanks for your interest.